Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. It's a Thursday night stream, 6:10 p.m. and the last day of July. The Hall of Fame game is happening as I'm recording this, but I wanted to get in one draft tonight, react to some news. So we'll focus on some news of the day and then get into that Husky draft. I am looking forward to it. Let's go. All right. Here we are on the Underdog news feed. In the last 12 hours, basically, as long as it happened today, we will report on it in this video. So Noah Fant looks like he's going to join the Bengals. Maybe Mike Gesicki loses some value, but kind of don't feel like this moves the needle very much. Gesicki is still the guy I want, and I don't really care too much about a Bengals tight end too. But Malik Neighbors returning to practice Thursday, so that injury risk, he's a young guy. I'm not too worried about it. Doesn't scare me. But as we move up the board, there's not too much to note, but looks like something positive for Marshawn Lloyd. Avoids long-term injury, groin injury. Probably not going to keep him off of the field too long into the season. So maybe I'll still draft Marshawn Lloyd. More so just making me feel better about the shares of Lloyd I already have. Otherwise, nothing too crazy, but Travis Etienne, this Jags backfield, looks like he's sharing reps with Tank Bigsby, and it does look like maybe Bashal Tutin is the third stringer, but I think things can change. It's still early. It's not even August yet, and who knows. I think Bigsby might be the guy to own, though. I have been fading ETN, and I'm kind of happy about that. But otherwise, there was one important thing. Looks like some positive reports for Mason Taylor. What we expected, likely to start immediately. There's no real competition for him, so that makes a lot of sense. I don't know how valuable that Jets offense is, though. But Jawan Jennings, this one's important. A calf injury re-aggravation. That is not good. And let's read this one a little bit more in depth. Shanahan declined to offer an update on when Jennings, who left Sunday's practice early, will return. The calf issue Jennings previously dealt with during the offseason was downplayed as minor, and he had successfully passed his physical to start training camp, but it remains to be seen whether this re-aggravation has resulted in a more serious injury. Not good, but in general, that Niners receiving core is banged up across the board. Right now, Ricky Pearsall might be getting a bump, but I think Demarcus Robinson might be a player of interest as the fourth stringer on this team. We know Brandon Ayuk is going to miss some time. If Jawan isn't fully healthy, Pearsall only just got activated off the pup himself. That's not good, but even Demarcus Robinson, dealing with a DUI suspension, probably misses some time as well. So in general, I think George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey are like awesome picks. That Niners receiving core, a little shaky. Jordan James misses practice with a knee injury, so Isaac Garendo probably benefits from that in general. Miles Sanders nursing knee bruise. It looks like him and Jaden Blue have been looking better than Javonte, but in general, I'm kind of worried about that whole backfield in general and kind of ignoring Dallas running backs. But Braylon Allen missed another practice. That's not great, but they're having some positive reports. When active, Braylon Allen has looked pretty good so far. But otherwise, I don't think there was anything that really popped out to me other than obviously Terry McLaurin asking for a trade. I don't think that's going to happen. Where is the Terry blurb? Here we go. Makes trade request 2 hours ago. Schefter reports this, so very legit. McLaurin didn't attend mandatory minicamp in June and then made a late arrival at training camp due to his search for a contract extension. With seemingly no headway made on that front, he's looking to move on from the only team he's known. Okay, this is all shit I already know. Nothing from this blurb really gives me any information. I don't think it's going to happen. I really doubt that the Commanders can afford to lose him. And I don't blame him for wanting a little bit more. Like, they traded for Debo, and Debo makes more than Terry. Like, that doesn't make sense. So he should be paid more than Debo. I don't know if he deserves the $33 million that DK Metcalf got, but Cortland Sutton just signed for like 22, 23 million. So I think they'll meet in the middle. I think he'll get some incentives in the contract, and only once that is added to the mix, then he'll return. But he is dealing with an ankle injury. He doesn't have much leverage, and I don't think they're going to give him away. He's too reliable. But in general, I do think Deebo Samuel probably gains some value from this. Deebo is very appealing. I think his 6th round draft price is totally worth the risk reward ratio, and I could see him really steal a lot of touchdowns. I think Ertz might be more interesting as well, tight end Zach Ertz, but you know me, I'm a little worried about second year player Ben Sennett overtaking him, but that's mainly requiring an injury to Ertz. So to start the season, I do feel more confident in those two players, Deebo and Zach Ertz, probably better picks than they were recently. But Michael Pittman also returns to practice field. His injury does not last very long. And then I forgot if we mentioned this early on, but Malik Neighbors did return to practice as well today. So that's it for the news recap. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned some stuff. Always valuable to stay up to date on that information. But Cash Fee is here in the chat with us. CMC is rising so fast. Today, one pundit had CMC over Saquon. Can't wait for this season to start. There's definitely a higher ceiling for McCaffrey, but in terms of injury concerns, probably still want to rank CMC behind Saquon. But maybe that Madden curse is legit. Cashy says Deebo won't last the whole season, though, especially if they use him as a running back wide receiver. They're definitely going to use him that way, but I don't think he needs to give you all 17 games. I don't think he's going to give you less than like 14. And, you know, last year, A.J. Brown gave you 14 games. Like, in general, you have to work the waiver wire. If you pick up someone in the 6th round, you're not expecting to start them all of the time. I still think the upside is really, really interesting, especially stacked up with Jaden Daniels. But let's get into the main event. Let's get into the thing I'm most excited for, not just reacting to some news. The Husky tournament, I am going to hop in today. As I mentioned last time I was drafting, I want to capitalize on some higher advance rates. That extra advance slot in the regular season, I think, is really valuable. Your odds of moving on to the playoffs jump from 16% up to 25%. 3 out of 12 is as good as it can get. So I will take that. And then once you advance, another 25% advance in week 15, and then about 16% advance in week 16, and then the final's only 117 people, but because the entry is $40, if you do make the final, you get $400. You get 4 times your investment if you make the final here. Like, in general, the odds of making a final in an underdog tournament, I've found to be around like 1 in 400. So here it's almost 1 in 100, and still that's low odds, but just like Best Ball on Call is saying, these are very good advance rates. The chances of actually returning on investment are really high. Now, the thing about this is, how many are you going to do? You can max out at 10, and personally, I'm probably only going to do 1. I don't think I'm going to do more than 2, because I also need to advance to week 16. I need to advance in the fantasy playoffs in order to make $75. So if I have 2 teams at $80 and only one of them advances to the playoffs, I'm still down $40. Whereas if I only have one team and it advances, then I've broken even, and then it's all profit from there. So I think I'm going to cool it on just 1. You can do however many you want. You can do none if you want. You can just spectate. But if we do take home first prize, that is $50K in our bank account. $10K for 6th, that's pretty nice. Even 10th place with 4,000, that's really tempting. So I will be doing one of these, and I don't know how quickly it's going to fill. Now that the Chihuahua's gone, I want to hop in. So if you want to join with me, go ahead and hit that button right now. There's like a 6-second delay, so I'll join in 3, 2, 1, and we should be synced up. But this is probably the only one I'm doing. So I'm going to go and get my guys. I'm not going to be afraid to reach if I think it's justified. And then there's also going to be some players I am avoiding like the plague. There's some guys I really have no desire to risk on. So that will be probably telling of my overall draft strategy. If I was in the subscriber league, I'd probably take away some nuggets on what I might be trying to do in next year's draft. I mean this year's draft, just a month from now. We'll probably be doing it 4 weeks from now. The subscriber league auction draft. Can't wait for that. I'll finalize the last spot in there over the weekend and expect all the updates if you are in the subscriber league to come in the next week. Buy-in's going to be the same if you're watching. $50, 12-team league, auction draft, half PPR, with some bonuses for scoring, such as 100-yard games for running backs and receivers. That gets a bonus. That's about 3-point bonus. Quarterbacks throwing for 300 yards is also a 3-point bonus. Quarterbacks throw for 400 yards. It's 5-point bonus overall. And then a 200-yard game, also a 5-point bonus overall. That's kind of the only thing that makes it pretty unique. Only 16 roster spots, or I think it's 15. Yeah, in a 12-team league. The bench has 6 people, starting roster, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, 1 tight end, and then we do defense and kicker as well. But, I get pick 12. I'm at the bookend, so definitely going to need to reach on occasion. But I like pick 12. If I'm going to pick one of the bookends, I'd rather be at pick 12 than pick 1, in all honesty. And I feel like supposedly your exposure in terms of which pick you have is completely random, but I feel like I've been really missing out on picks 4 and 5 this season, and I have a shit ton in the last 3. I've got a ton on the live streams in pick 12. I have a lot in pick 11 and 10. So at least I'm familiar with this spot in the draft. I think I have enough experience where I know some pitfalls to avoid, but don't want to get too cocky. I can always find a way to fuck this up. So if you're enjoying, if you're ready for this thing to get going, hit that like button. Let me know if there's any players you really think I should target. But as always, if you ever have any questions, feel free to let them rip in the chat. Let me get the draft board set up. Here we go. We are underway. Bryce is asking, in redraft, how do you feel about Tet at the 5-6? If that's like a 10-team league, I think that's appropriate. If it's a 12-team league, I think that's a steal. I'm really on board with Tet. I prefer Tet over Marvin Harrison this season, so I'm definitely a Tet believer. And if you look at last year when Adam Thielen was healthy and Deontay Johnson was not on the team, so Thielen was operating as the wide receiver 1, he was putting up 13.5 points per game in the last 7 games of the season last year. So the wide receiver 1 in Carolina is very valuable. That would have been a top 16 receiver in points per game last season. And he only did it on 7 targets per game, so I think Tet can absolutely pay off in the 5th round. I'm trusting that ADP regardless of format. I would draft him in round 5 happily. Then, what do you feel about Waddle in the late 6th? Waddle's in a tier with a lot of risk. I don't feel desperate to draft Waddle if I don't have to, but about to be on the clock here, so let's take a look at the players available. Neighbors just goes. Would have loved to get Neighbors, but I definitely need running back. I think there's a big tier break. I want one here because it's been really hard to get another valuable running back in the 3rd round when you're at pick 12. So I will go Devon Achane 100%, and then my rankings do have Brian Thomas above Amon-Ra. Really close call between them, but I will take Brian Thomas. I'm going to trust the youth, and I think a year 2 leap from an LSU receiver. I'm a little bit worried that Amon-Ra cedes some ground to Jamison Williams. So straight up, I do have Brian Thomas ranked 1 spot above Amon-Ra. That is my tiebreaker. So Achane, Brian Thomas at the start. I've done it many times. It's not a very unique combo. There's a lot of teams that start off this way. But do I think it's a safe way to start things off? Yes. And I'm a big fan myself. So happy with the start. Let's get this in the right spot. fiddling with it. Okay, I think that's good enough. I think that's where I want it to be. Meanwhile, this can probably expand a little bit. There we go. Sorry. My OCD is kicking in. But Terry R. asking, half point PPR, redraft team Murray, Nico, Terry, Gibbs, Chase Brown, and Joku, K9. On the bench, you got Dak, Najee, DK, Henderson, Pickens, Ford, Ayuk, Charbs. Trade away K9 for McBride. Your team is stacked across the board. I mean, running back, maybe not the deepest position you got, but I think you have so many good receivers on the bench. If you have K9 in the flex spot, I'd be happy to get rid of him for an elite tight end like McBride. I would definitely go with McBride in that trade. Good luck, Terry. But Jason is in the 4 spot here with us. Yes. River Rat is in at 4. Goes Bijan, Tyreek Hill. Happy to see you, man. Let's go. Jason Calhoun did finish second in the subscriber league last year. River Rat, member of the channel. Love to see you here in this Husky. Albie, thank you. Jason feeling good. And then Parker Bledsoe asking, would you rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. or Zay Flowers? It's close. It's actually not far off at all. I think I would probably gamble on Marvin Harrison Jr., but it's really close. I don't have Zay Flowers far behind Harrison, and I do think Harrison's a risky bet. I don't think he's going to be that much more improved from last year, but it's not like Zay Flowers overall was like elite last year. The question is, they're both probably going over 1,000 yards. I think that's probably safe to say. If one doesn't, it would be Harrison. And then if one of them scores less touchdowns this season, I guess fewer touchdowns this season, it would be Harrison, who scored 8 last year. And then if one scored more touchdowns this season, it would be Flowers, who scored 4 last season. So it's really a coin flip. I think if it was a dynasty league or some type of keeper league, I would maintain Harrison. But straight up, I would be very tempted to put Flowers in. They're both so volatile, though, that you don't feel confident in like trusting them every single week to pay off in your lineup. So if you have an inclination towards Zay Flowers, go for it. But I think marginally, I would take Marvin Harrison Jr. Just barely. He has less target competition. Like, it's just him and McBride. In Baltimore, there's a lot more mouths to feed. But we are on the clock. And Breece Hall's at the top of ADP. So I think I'll take Breece. And then I should probably play it safe with a good receiver here, but I'm going to press my luck, and I think I'm going to go Jaden Daniels. I'm going to grab an elite quarterback on this team. And if Terry somehow gets traded, then that's not the stack I'm dying to have anyways. But let's say Terry misses some time, and it's just, you know, kind of some weird vibes. Maybe Jaden Daniels runs it a little bit more. Maybe Jaden Daniels offers a bit more rushing value this season. Who knows? So those are my picks. Breece Hall, who I don't take very often, but I think is kind of one of the last man standing that I think has the ability to finish top 10. So let's get a running back while we can. That way I don't feel like forced to grab running back at the next turn. It's not a guarantee. I get the players I want. There's been a lot more of a focus on running back. Sadly, I was one pick away from Omarion Hampton. That is unfortunate. But I'm glad I didn't get my hopes up because I didn't expect to get Hampton at all. Hampton to fall to 35 is kind of rare these days. But interesting to see Mike Evans go 26 in this draft. to the team with Jahmyr Gibbs, T. Higgins. That team is getting unique with it. It's not like Mike Evans was bad last year, so I don't blame him for reaching on him. Like, it's a really flat tier in general, so I understand the unique approach that Team 2 is using, taking Mike Evans at 26. I don't think Evans is more valuable than Adams or JSN this year, but if you told me he was more valuable than Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., I understand that completely. So, don't see it every day, but don't hate it. River at in here with us goes Bijan, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, and Terry McLaurin. Gets the falling value on Terry. At that point, I'd probably scoop it up as well. While I'm reluctant enough to pass on the Terry Daniels stack at the 3-4 turn, I still think Terry's a fine 4th round pick. But Bryce asking, how do you feel about elite quarterbacks this year? It's interesting. If you asked me this question a month ago, I would have said I fade them all because I think the values late at quarterback are just so good. But in context, once the run on quarterback starts, it pretty much is over within 3-4 rounds. Like, there's not that much depth at quarterback once you hit round 14, 15. And for that reason, because they're all kind of jumbled up and the difference maker of having that elite quarterback is so valuable, I'm starting to come around that, especially if I'm only going to have one team in a certain tournament, I am probably more willing to draft that early quarterback. I think it is really valuable, but I'm not going to ignore my backup quarterbacks at all. I think in general, I want to be grabbing quarterbacks I think are either appropriately priced at ADP or undervalued as much as I can. Even with Jaden Daniels, I'm not completely averse to drafting 3 quarterbacks on this team. I wouldn't hate it. But most likely, I like it because not only is it a safe pick in general, it gives you an advantage, and it also gives you the flexibility where if you want to stop at 2, that feels pretty comfortable and safe. So it's pretty valuable. But I'm on the clock here. Alvin Kamara at the top of ADP, but because I go with A-Chain and Breece Hall, I don't feel compelled to take him. Instead, I'm 100% going to grab Deebo Samuel here as our wide receiver 2. And I was hoping maybe I'd get a value on Travis Hunter. He goes 2 picks earlier. Would love to have that double stack in Jacksonville, but I do not. And for that reason, we're going to pivot to... Kind of tempted to go Kamara, though. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to take Kamara. I'm worried about Kamara at the end of the season, but with guys like Devon Achane, Breece Hall already on this team, let's lean into the strength. I think I can catch up at receiver in a way that is tolerable. I got to force the issue, but with Achane, Breece Hall, and Kamara, I think I can stop at 5 running backs comfortably on this team. And I also have the upside where if those 3 are in my lineup consistently, I think I do have an advantage. If Kamara is as good as last year, he's a smash pick in the 6th round. I was hoping Henderson would be available, but Henderson's been rising. And it's just kind of the luck of the draw, getting pick 12. We came really close to drafting Hampton and Travion Henderson and Travis Hunter in this draft. It's just minimal differences. So close, but does not happen. So I will need to be catching up at receiver. That's the only caveat with this team. But with Evans off the board at that last pick, I wasn't dying to draft Terry. I wasn't... My next highest ranked player would be Xavier Worthy. And... at that 3-4 turn, receiver was not speaking to me. I'll be honest. But was really hoping we'd get a value at receiver here at pick 61. It's okay. I think I'll be all right. Dev says, I bet props for a preseason game. Do I need to call the number? Perhaps, man. What was your bet? Now I'm curious. But I hope it was Will Disley touchdown. I hope that's what it was. Was it a turnover on the first snap of the game? Because that's what happened. Chargers kicked off. Lions returned the kick. Forced fumble recovered by the Chargers inside a 30-yard line of the Lions. Scored it for a touchdown. Hampton was on that drive. I did watch the first quarter of the Hall of Fame game, but definitely not tuning in anymore. And Hampton looked okay. Really hyped up for him. Wasn't like impressive. Only had like 4 touches mainly. So, not going to overreact. But Disley looked okay. What I did notice, I'm not reading into Disley. I still think Conklin's going to be the guy you want at tight end in LA. But one thing that was really evident on that touchdown that Disley scored, the defense was just like so hyper focused on Hampton. Like just the threat of him on the field in that system is like, okay, we gotta focus on this guy. Anyways, I'm definitely drafting Josh Downs on this team. 100%. And sadly, Jaden Higgins just got taken. We just got sniped on Jaden Higgins. That's a major bummer. But Josh Downs, my wide receiver 3. Gonna have to take him. And then I was planning to go Jaden Higgins, but don't have that available. I need receiver 100%. I will just take Mooney and bite the bullet that shoulder injury is not going to cost him this season. So that team basically teams 9, 10, and 11 have sniped me at the last 3 turns. I think they made some good picks, but it's sad to see guys I really want scooped up before I can get them. But in general, I still think Mooney's going to be very valuable when he's on the field. I do not buy into Michael Penix overtaking Mooney in terms of targets. Not going to bet on that. So, can't say this roster's like my favorite so far, but we have an elite quarterback. We're pretty stacked at running back. We're not going to be forcing the issue at that spot. And I feel confident in my drafting ability to the point where I think late in this draft, I will still get some contributors at that position. But I'm definitely going to go 5 running backs max. I think I'll probably stop at 2 quarterbacks. This is starting to feel like a potential 9 receiver roster. I got to go minimum 8 receivers with the start we had. But Albie says Hampton just went 25 in his Husky. Yeah, I'm pretty shocked he fell to 35 in this one. I'm glad I wasn't looking at the ADP because I would have been so sad to see he actually got sniped. I was not really watching it that intently. I was just like, whoever's there, I'll accept my fate. But Dev says Isaac Tesla over 18.5 yards and DJ under 62.5 passing yards. Are we at halftime at this point? How's Tesla looking? Keandre Lambert-Smith did have a nice catch down the field from Trey Lance. I will say that. Got a little hyped on Keandre Lambert-Smith. Looking good at camp. 5th round pick for the Chargers. Has 4.34 speed. Oh no, that's Jalen Lane. I think he runs a 4.37. It's definitely 4.3. Yes. Keandre, let's pull that up, is a 5th round pick, 6'1", 190 pounds, out of Auburn, and he runs a 4.37. Best comp is Slayton. And last year for Auburn did have 981 yards and 8 touchdowns on 50 catches and 12 starts. That's just under 20 yards per catch. With no Mike Evans, I do think that's a little noteworthy. A player to get kind of excited about, but absolutely just an 18th round pick if you're going to take him. Anyways, there has been a minor run on quarterback and running back, which is good for me. I'm not really in the market for either of them at this pick. So happy to see Dobbins off the board. We do see Dak Prescott go at 94 in this draft. So the team with Lamb also has Pickens, does not want to take any chances. Caleb off the board. This is great for me because there's at least one receiver that will be available with my next pick. Here's the top of ADP. I am on the clock, and I was 100% in the market for Trey Smith, but I also get Brandon Ayuk. That's phenomenal. So even though I'm tempted to grab Mark Andrews here, I think Andrews is a good pick at this price with the news regarding Isaiah Likely. I just need receiver on this team pretty badly, and I make it out in really good shape at that turn, exactly what I needed. Trey Harris often doesn't fall to around 10, but usually goes in this range. I was happy to get him there. But Ayuk falls all the way down to 109. That's really nice. That is pretty beautiful. So at pick 12, I think I'd catch a break. And now, with Jaden Daniels, we're in a good spot. We got some comfort. We don't have to go in any direction desperately. But at the next round, I do probably want to dip back in at tight end. I know there's some good tight end values in general in the 12th round. There's still some good guys on the board. So far, I feel good about the team. I would like this team a lot more if it was a full PPR format. I think our running backs are the perfect running backs to target in full PPR. Kamara's much more valuable in full PPR. So is A-Chain. A-Chain is probably like RB3 in full PPR. I already have him at RB5. I'm tempted to say he could be RB1, but if you wanted to rank him at 2 or 3, I think that's kind of the lowest I'd go on Devon A-Chain in full PPR. I expect A-Chain to catch the most receptions of any running back. Bijan, a better pick in full PPR as well. Christian McCaffrey, probably a better pick than Saquon in full PPR, in my opinion. And then I also think Chase Brown moves up a tier in full PPR as well. Chase Brown going to catch at least 4 receptions a game probably this season. So I think if Derrick Henry's off the board, the next best option at running back is probably Chase Brown in full PPR. I don't think I'd take him over Derrick Henry, but I think they're in the same tier. Saquon probably moves down to running back 4 in full PPR. I think Derrick Henry's RB6 regardless, but I'd probably put Genty above him in full PPR. So maybe Derrick Henry's RB7, if that math checks out. But this is half PPR. So having A-Chain, Brees, and Kamara, maybe not as valuable, but still makes me confident at that spot where, you know, what's interesting, Quinshon Judkins is still falling. And I know he's risky. I know he's not like a safe pick at all. But if he's there at 132, I'm going to be tempted to take him. That's for sure. But there is a big run on tight end that just happened. Sadly, I'm not going to get a good tight end. I expected Kincaid and Goddard to still at least be on the board, and neither of them are there. Herbert goes. I would have gladly taken Herbert as our wide receiver stack with Trey Harris there, but even though he's coming off the board, I think I'm still going to take Quentin Johnston. I don't feel good about my receiving core, and I like Quentin Johnston in this range, so not going to force it at tight end. Going to grab a receiver because I know I still need some. And then This feels really risky, but we need to embrace some risk in the first place. We're getting a really big discount on Quinshon Judkins. Is there some news I am missing? Because Dylan Sampson was taken above him. But, you know, nothing changes. His training camp absence continues. Not good. But, like, even if he's only on the field for, like, 5 games at the end of the season, I still think his value in best ball is, like, really high. I have good enough running back production where I'm not counting on him. And I do think pairing him with a guy like Kamara, who I think could be injured at the end of the year, is not a bad decision. So that is a pick that may have completely cratered this team. I may have no chance to advance with Quinshon Judkins, but I think he's just fallen so far. I think he's worth the risk at this point. Like, his ADP is 112. He was going at pick 70 a month ago. So he falls another 20 spots in this draft. But Dev saying you couldn't pay me to pick Chase Brown over Hampton. If these Najee trends continue, then I will rank Hampton above Chase Brown. But in full PPR, I do think Chase Brown probably going to get more targets. But Hampton's moving up the board. I need to update my running back rankings because things are changing. Let's give it another week. Let every team have a preseason game, and then we'll update the running back rankings. I also want to finish the wide receiver rankings in the next, like, 5 or so days. So, next Friday, we'll probably start to reevaluate that position. But Tank Bigsby goes. Starting to make some sense. Feels like a good pick. I still believe in Bashal Tutin, but if there's a player I am never drafting, it's Travis Etienne. Give me Bigsby in the 13th round all day over Travis Etienne in the 9th. I think you could argue to take Bigsby above Bashal Tutin at this point. But Dobbs off the board, Tua off the board, Garendo off the board. And the team I sniped on Quentin Johnston, Team 11, did take Trevor Lawrence. Maybe I should have taken Trevor Lawrence there. He snipes the team with Travis Hunter. But I kind of got really worried at receiver when our top 2 are just Brian Thomas, Deebo Samuel. I think grabbing 5 straight receivers when one of them is Brandon Ayuk and another one is Darnell Mooney is not the worst decision. I kind of wish Herbert just fell one more spot. Like, I've gotten so close to some really good stacks on this team. Some really good picks, but at the 12 slot, just not working out. I still like the team. I still think the team's pretty good. But to go 1-4-7 with no tight ends at this point does feel a little risky. I can't say I planned it. So, got to pay attention to tight end. And dang, Hunter Henry off the board. That's a bummer. I was hoping to get Hunter Henry, but I do not. So, Zach Ertz is going to be one of the picks here. And then should probably get my quarterback. Or we just let Likely fall into our lap. I mean, it doesn't feel good, but he was... Nah. Almost took Geno Smith there, but you know what? I think I need tight end badly. I'm going to go Zach Ertz. And then we'll take the shot on Likely. Whew. A bit nerve-wracking there, but just like the Judkins pick, I think I got to embrace some risk. We've got some banged up players on this team, though. We've got Likely banged up. We have Mooney liked up. We have Ayuk banged up. And then Debo, a bit of an injury risk. Can't say Kamara is the safest player to stay healthy. And then Judkins, who the fuck knows? But I'm just committing to Jaden Daniels. We have 4 picks left. But drafting at Team 12 was a difficult spot. Perhaps I should have gone Daniels and George Kittle instead of Breece Hall, but I have no regrets. Just a different strategy that may have panned out. Don't like to go rainbow, though. Drafting one of each position, top 4 rounds, especially at the 12 hole, not my favorite way to go about it. But let's check on River Rat's team. He has Bijan, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, Terry, Rashee Rice, DeAndre Swift, Emeka Egbuka. I like the team a lot so far. Then he has Mahomes and Justin Fields with Garrett Wilson and Rashee Rice. That is nice to have. Tyjae Spears, one of my favorite picks at RB3. Ray Davis at 141. Damn, good price on Ray Davis. Paired with Isaac Guerrero, Braylon Allen. I think River Rat is killing this draft. I think River Rat's team is really good. Does have Hollywood Brown. A bit high on the Hollywood Brown pick, but I understand it with Mahomes. Definitely makes sense. Mason Taylor now is the tight end 1, so he waited even longer than I did. Goes Mason Taylor. A full Jets investment with the exception of Breece Hall. Adam Thielen off the board. Jerome Ford off the board. And the team with Bowers does pass on Geno Smith. Shipley off the board. So I get a really good price on Geno Smith here. I'm really glad I passed on quarterback at that last turn because getting Geno here feels really good. The question is, with my next pick, do I grab the last receiver with Dante Thornton? I mentioned this. I think this needs to be an 8 receiver team. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It's really tempting to grab another tight end, but I think I kind of boxed myself into a position, double tapping that position at the last round where I don't think I can afford that. I'm going to go Dante Thornton. And now I'm done at receiver. I have 2 picks left. I need another running back, so I'll take one. But I'm calling it at 2 quarterbacks with Jaden Daniels, Geno Smith. I'm really glad that worked out. I got a great price on Geno Smith here. My most drafted quarterback. I think huge sleeper value at quarterback with Geno Smith. So that's the quarterback room. Jaden Daniels, Geno Smith. Running back, if Judkins plays most of the season, I love this running back core. With A-Chain, Breece Hall, Kamara, and Judkins, I think Judkins could give me that massive ceiling at the end of the year that really catapults me. But having A-Chain, Breece Hall at the top, I think gives me a lot of flexibility. And then receiver, even though I kind of took a big risk there, I got enough decent values, I think, at the 9-10 turn to where I actually feel kind of kind of decent about it. We got Brian Thomas Jr., Debo Samuel, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, Trey Harris, Brandon Ayuk, Quentin Johnston, and Dante Thornton. That value on Brandon Ayuk, I think, is saving me, but he is going to miss several games. So that's tough. And then tight end is a massive gamble with Zach Ertz and Isaiah Likely. The thing about Likely is he's way better in best ball. So even if he misses like a month of the season, who's to say he wasn't giving me 3 points in those games anyway? When he comes back, that's what I care about. And hopefully, given the injury happened in July, he's back on the field in October at the latest. And then the path for his success is still live. Like, he could still overtake Mark Andrews. Andrews could still get hurt. He could be the highest touchdown scorer on the team. It scares the shit out of me, not going to lie, but I think he's worth it. I need Zach Ertz to pay off, though. I'm really, really hinging on Zach Ertz's success, but Cobra, I was thinking the same thing. I can throw a parade that I don't have two quarterbacks with the same bye. Thank the Lord. Whew. Week 12. I almost went Justin Herbert, who also has the week 12 bye. So I think I actually got spared by getting sniped on Herbert. Herbert would have been a bad pick. Reflect the Sun, really high on Geno as well at 27%, with Penix and Geno at 30. Ooh, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt gets sniped. I wanted Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Team 9 has sniped me on a few of these picks. Next Gen 23 with a good draft. Dang, Darnold is still on the board. That's really, really tempting. But I know for a fact with this last pick, I'm investing in Washington backup tight end Ben Sennett. I want the insurance policy. If Ertz misses any time, I'm really, really locked into Ertz. So not going to fuck around there. And then with my final running back, Justice Hill is speaking to me as a safe floor option. He's going to outscore this ADP. It's just a question of will he ever be relevant even when he outscores it? And although I kind of want Darnold on this team, I kind of want a receiver, I only have 4 running backs I have to take. Justice Hill. Or at least a different running back. I wanted Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt to correlate with Washington. Sadly, does not happen. But I think the team is pretty good. I will tolerate the risk I've taken. I think for $40, the upside is still there, but it's a risky team. That's for sure. Okay, full recap once more, starting round by round. We go Devon Achane, Brian Thomas at the 1-2 turn. Then I take Breece Hall, Jaden Daniels at the 3-4 turn. Almost got Hampton sniped by 1 pick. Debo and Alvin Kamara at the 5-6 turn. I need some stack with Jaden Daniels. Let's take Debo. Liking his upside with the Terry trade request. That could be an elite stack to have. And then Kamara, I almost passed on, but I'm not regretting it at all. I think when he's healthy, he will, at worst, be top 20. He was top 5 last year on a points per game basis. He's probably a really valuable option, once again, when healthy. But we kind of get burned at receiver. At the next turn, we go Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney. I really wanted Jaden Higgins instead of Mooney, but I still think Mooney's going to be fine if he's healthy. And then at the 9-10 turn, I get a bit of a gift. We draft Trey Harris and Brandon Ayuk. Can tolerate the risk and injury concerns with Ayuk at that price. And then I do take Quentin Johnston to pair with Trey Harris. I'm not convinced Trey Harris is going to overtake Quentin Johnston, but what I do think is going to happen is that they rotate in terms of their touchdown production. And 1 week, I do think it'd be nice to have Quentin Johnston, and then the next week, it'd be nice to have Trey Harris. Don't want them in redraft when I have to decide when to start them, but I think in best ball, this is actually a really nice combo to have. Plus, if Ladd ever gets hurt, sky's the limit with these guys. So happy to get back in at receiver, given how much I faded it early on. Then I get Judkins at a massive value at pick 133. Pretty risky, but tight end was not really a good spot there. I would have had to reach on Ferguson, and I wasn't dying to do that. Then I go Zach Ertz, Isaiah Likely. A lot of risk with this combo, but with the news about Terry, I think Ertz is a safer pick, and I have Jaden Daniels, so makes sense. I do insure it, though, in round 17 with Ben Sennett. If Ertz ever misses time, I think Sennett can just slot right in as the tight end one there. So locked into the Commanders tight end one, and then I'm hoping that Isaiah Likely does pay off despite the injury risk. But I also grabbed Geno Smith at pick 180. Phenomenal value on Geno. I'm stoked to get him. And then I do pair him with Deontay Thornton at 181. I think a valuable wide receiver 8 to have. I think he's more valuable than Jack Betch this season. And then last pick of the draft is Justice Hill. I needed that last running back. And I do think from a floor standpoint, Justice Hill will outscore his ADP, but it's hard to envision him ever like being a dominant RB1 in our lineup. We're just hoping for like a few games with 12 points, to maybe cover our bases on occasion, and then maybe some weeks where they give Derrick Henry some rest and the touchdowns hit where Justice Hill is all of a sudden giving me like 17 plus points as they rest Derrick Henry in the fantasy playoffs. So the team's okay, not my favorite. At the 12th slot, we did not get some good values. I wish I had picked like 10 or 9 in this draft. Like there's no way Hampton would have gone 35 if I was higher on the draft board. I would have taken Henderson probably at 57 as well. I wanted Henderson instead of Kamara. I love Team 9's approach. They got some really good picks. They took Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt from me as well at 201. I would have taken JCM if available. And Team 11 with Hampton and Herbert. That's a pretty good team. But I like my team. I think it worked out well. I'm not upset. Not upset at all. So that's it for this live stream. Not going to do a second one. Just sticking with the Husky draft. And if you want some updates on some news, go ahead and check that out. Rewind to the top of this draft. That's going to be it for me tonight. So if you're new, hope you enjoyed. Hit that like button and subscribe. As always, I'll see you next time. And look out for some new content in the month of August. Peace out.